Son of a bitch.
Groovy.
Hey everybody, this is Matthew Movies coming at you with my review of The Devil's Advocate, the 1997 film that I personally think is a heck of a lot of fun and also extremely dark and freaky and cool, and just a movie that I really get a lot out of. And in a number of ways, there are parts of it that I think are ridiculous and frankly kind of terrible, and there are parts of it that I think are absolutely awesome and cool, and I really enjoy this film in just a number of different ways, and I think it's a very unique experience because of that. I mean, this movie, if you don't know anything about it, basically what it's about is you have a character played by Keanu Reeves who is a lawyer, and he gets hired by a character played by Al Pacino to become this big city lawyer. And as the film progresses, you realize that things may not be as you initially expected, and there are supernatural and dark things at afoot, and Al Pacino especially is a very dark character, and just the way the whole film progresses from there is really, really fascinating. Like I said, it does star Keanu Reeves, and there are aspects of his performance that I think are pretty entertaining. There's a moment at the end where it's a kind of back and forth between him and Pacino that I think is pretty great, but I think he also falls down in a number of ways. He has an accent in this film, which turns out is just not a strength of his. He really needs to get away from any film that involves him having any kind of accent, because it just absolutely comes and goes and just does not work in a number of sequences. But at the same time, I also think he is stellar in various elements of it as well, as this kind of lawyer who is cutthroat and absolutely gonna use the system to its nth degree, and the way in which you see him putting together this ego and forcing himself to win these cases that he maybe morally shouldn't be doing. I think it's a very compelling character and compelling story that absolutely works as the core concept of this film. Al Pacino, like I mentioned, is in this movie, and I'll be looking at him a little bit more later, but I think he does just a marvelous job in it as this lawyer, this head of industry, this magnate, this guy that everybody around him fears, and his relationship with Keanu Reeves, who he takes under his wing, and is very entertaining. I think he absolutely commits to the role and seems to be having a very, very good time during a number of sequences. I mean, Al Pacino's it up in a lot of sequences. He's very over the top, but I think that really adds to the charm of this film. Charlize Theron is in it. She plays Keanu Reeves' basically girlfriend and wife to be, and potential mother, and the whole, not his mother, potential mother of his kid, I should say, and she's kind of goes along with him to this big city and gets seduced by it as well, but then also it gets destroyed by it, and the way her character progresses throughout it, you to a large degree you care more about her than you do about Reeves' character, because she is kind of much more of a babe in the woods, and it's just absolutely gets destroyed by it much more quickly, and they're a lot more merciless with her, and you just absolutely feel for her character, and she is very charming, especially at the beginning. I mean, the connection that they show her having with Keanu Reeves seems to be so sincere and fantastic, and she's just an absolutely great part of this film. And Connie Nielsen, who's in it, and she is basically a cohort of Keanu Reeves in this law firm, and she's the one that you find out is also going to be that Al Pacino sees as being at the top of the industry and moves forward, and it kind of helps to shepherd Keanu Reeves throughout it, but in a lot less active way than Pacino, and definitely uses her sex appeal to kind of bring him in as well. And I think she does a fantastic job in this movie, and again, absolutely commits to the role. I'd say that's one of the major strengths of this movie, is that everybody seems to commit to the role. I mean, you have Craig T. Nelson, who shows up, and the guy who I've always known best as Coach, or the voice of Jack Parr from from the Incredibles and this kind of lovable dude, but in this he's a criminal and a titan of industry who, you know, as the film progresses, did something horrible, and he's absolutely shameless in his performance and does a fantastic job. Jeffrey Jones is in it, who, you know, whenever Jeffrey Jones is in a movie, it's a little bit of a kind of situation, because I loved him growing up. He was in so many great movies like Ferris Bueller's and Beetlejuice, but now he's a sex offender who's just an absolutely disgusting human being. But actually, it's kind of funny because that kind of works for this role, because he is reprehensible plays a reprehensible character in this. Basically, the guy who's Al Pacino's toady and does all the paperwork and has delusions of grandeur and sees himself as just absolutely indispensable, but maybe not as much as he thinks. I think his sliminess in real life does work for the role, but I do kind of wish he wasn't in it, because he does take me out of movies when I see him because of the horrible things he's done. And you have some ladies that Charlize Theron putties around with that I think are very interesting as well. There's this one woman that is in the same apartment building as her that you at first you see as just kind of her best friend, but as the film progresses, you come to realize that, you know, she's a little bit more than you expected. I mean, there's a main spoiler in this movie that I'll be getting to, and there's a Delroy Lindo is in this movie as well. He plays this kind of this potential a case that Keanu Reeves takes on as this guy who does sacrifices, and his character, I think, is one of the more charismatic throughout the entire film. I mean, you have Jeffrey Jones and Craig T. Nelson that are very interesting and dark and all that, but Delroy Lindo's character, you could see being somebody that a lot of people might follow, even though he does horrible things. And it comes off as kind of reprehensible as well. But like I said, there's the main spoiler of this film is, and again, spoiler, is that Al Pacino's character turns out to be the devil. And as this film comes to an end, you have this extended sequence where Al Pacino does this monologue where he's convincing that Keanu Reeves to come and join him, that he's the winning side, and that God isn't all he's cracked up to be, and that he's this cruel prankster, and he just absolutely commits to it. He seems to be having a ball while he's delivering these lines. I remember when I first walked out of it being like, oh man, there's a hell. I don't know if Al Pacino wants to be given a monologue like that, because I mean, it's a very compelling scene. Like I said, he totally commits to it, and seems to be having just such a great time saying these lines that a lot of people would be horribly offended by, and just he has this look of absolute delight on his face throughout. I think it is definitely the most memorable sequence of this film that is filled with a lot of memorable parts. I enjoy this movie a great deal. I think it's absolutely worth a watch, and if you haven't seen it, I would check it out. But if you have seen it, let me know in the comment section below what you think. If you're a fan, if you think that it's not all it's cracked up to be, whatever. Other than that, please hit that like button, hit that share button. It makes it much more likely that other people will come check out this review and let me know what they think, which is something I absolutely value, because I love talking to people about movies. And if you haven't done it yet, or you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you can come check out my new videos and give me that feedback that just means the world to me. Other than that, have yourself a good day.